Hi, my name is Rob Jennings. Welcome to this version 1 webinar on cost management in the cloud. I'd like to start off by thanking you for attending the webinar. I hope you find it useful. I'm really interested in getting your getting feedback from you about both this webinar and the whole series of webinars that version 1 have been hosting. Okay, there's quite a lot to talk about, so I'll get straight to the agenda. So I'll quickly go through the logistics and then set out my goals for this webinar. I'm going to spend a few moments including introducing myself and the work I do in version 1. I promise it won't take long. I'm really just doing it. I hope that it'll give you some context to the work that we're doing in the cloud in version 1. I'll then talk about the 6 different areas that can offer tangible cost management opportunities in the cloud. Strategic savings. I'd like to talk about how different strategies can have different cost and budget profiles. Transformational savings. The public cloud has a large array of services that can help you transform how you build your own applications and internal services. We'll talk about these potential savings and consequences. Resource right sizing. This is about managing cost while ensuring availability and responsiveness. Vendor choice. Vendors are constantly challenging each other on price. It is a constant leapfrogging. I'd like to talk about the ways of taking advantage of this while understanding the risks to stability. Licensing. Licensing is complex. Vendors are continuously challenging each other by managing their license policies. This can have complex licensing consequences, and we'll discuss them here. Governance. How do we govern spending in a consumption-based environment? CapEx budgets don't apply anymore, so other ways of governance must be found. I'd like to discuss some of the costs tooling that we use in version 1 to manage these challenges and some examples. Okay, logistics. The plan is to run through the webinar for between 15 and 20 minutes and then to take questions afterwards. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them using the online chat room available to you all. You'll see it highlighted on the screen with a red arrow. If you don't see my screen, please use the chat to message Kenneth, who's there to help you if needs be. Kenneth will then collate the questions you have, and I'll do my best to answer them at the end of the presentation. I hope that's good for everybody. Okay. So I'm aware the webinars involve a lot of listening, which is an unusual mode for us to be in while at our computers. So for those busy fingers and eyes out there, I'd like to point out some content that is complementary to this webinar and indeed some of the other webinars we've hosted. Kenneth will add links for you to click on in the chat room as we go along. The first one is version1.com/cloud. It's a new website that we are quite proud of. You'll see details of some of the benefits version 1 can help you obtain from our cloud partners, AWS, Azure, and Oracle, and some of the competencies that we've been awarded by our partners. It describes the services that we offer. I'll be referencing some of them as we go along, so feel free to browse and read them as I talk. Okay, logistics over with. I'd like to qualify my goals for this webinar. My goal is to give you some of our insights into how the cloud can reduce the direct cost of IT to your business. It's not my intention to talk about how savings can be made around the key advantages of cloud, like agility, scalability, elasticity, and productivity. These are the significant intangible benefits. I'd like to focus on the tangible cost savings that are going to be seen in your cloud consumption budgets, your actual bills. The significant intangible benefits are probably worth another webinar in themselves. That sounds like I've just walked myself into another webinar, but it is an interesting topic. I'd like to highlight the risks that different strategies can have on your budgets. The Right Scale 2017 State of the Cloud report said that 45% of cloud spend is wasted, and that cost control is the #1 challenge for cloud users. I'd like to explain some of the reasons behind that and describe some of the challenges and some of the opportunities for reducing this surprising waste. Okay, Goldson. A little bit about me. My background is in network and systems management platforms. I've built numerous management stacks for managed service providers and telecoms companies. I've worked in finance, telecoms, professional services, and managed services. I've been working in the public cloud for about 5 years now, and would previously have worked in on-premise cloud. I've designed and built some large cloud solutions. I've led teams of solution architects and have been leading development on the version 1 automation and management stacks. I'm currently involved in some significant public cloud projects that are helping transform some large enterprises in the travel sector. I enjoy leading the team on automation methodologies and techniques that are central to optimizing the public cloud. I've done quite a bit of work in policy and process development, and have been centrally involved in large ISO 20000 projects and also at ISO 27001 accredited program. I also serve on the version 1 ISO governance board, which helps me obtain insight into how to govern workloads in the cloud and how the cloud impacts organizations from a business perspective. Okay, strategic savings. Public cloud services offer alternatives to current strategies. This graph shows the expected run rate of costs taken from a cloud business case for an existing set of workloads. The blue lines are costs if the public cloud is chosen, and the orange lines are for the on-premise options. Ongoing costs are based on current prices, which is why there is some flatlining in the costs. In reality, the costs of compute, storage, and connectivity is going to go down on both, so it's probably still a good comparison. The important note here is that public cloud is likely to cost you more in the short term. Migration costs and parallel running of the data centers for a period of time, for example. This can increase costs. Public cloud might be the long-term better solution, but often there is pain up front. So how can we reduce this upfront pain? Well, quicker migrations help. That does require a more aggressive cloud-first strategy, which is what we're seeing in the large enterprise space. We also see many of our customers triggering migrations based on the timing of their data center contracts. This does require planning, so the sooner you trigger, the better. Some companies prefer to keep the migration risk low, so the cloud vendors are starting to bring along migration acceleration programs that bring discounts and savings from years 3, 4, and 5 forward to years 1 and 2. However, you have to go into a long-term discount deal with them. Version 1 are part of some of these programs, so it's worth contacting us for more details. You'll notice the dip in public costs in year 4. I'll get to that later on. The blue line on line 4. Okay, so I'd like to talk about transformational savings. Technical debt is one of the largest costs of IT. Upgrades, patching, end-of-life migrations are all exercises that often don't bring value because they are costly, risky, and often don't bring new business value above keeping the services running. The public cloud has a large array of services that can help you transform how you build your own applications and internal services. Cloud native has significant cost benefits. For example, serverless applications are cloud native solutions that you can build quickly and significantly reduce consumption costs. The consumption model is pay as you go, and you use the functions on a per CPU cycle basis. We are building these cloud native applications for our customers already. They scale almost infinitely. There's no patching, no upgrades. If you don't pay, you don't use. And even if you do pay, even if you do use, the costs are very small. Applications with 20,000 users and a compute bill of less than $100 a month are not unusual. It's almost unbelievable. Go to serverless.com for an insight into that. These transformational services have huge potential savings to your business. They give you the opportunity to reinvent how your business runs. But you have to design your architecture properly, and you have to buy into the cloud native methods for building your applications. There are overall solutions available already out there for serverless applications, but they are generally for cloud-focused workloads. You won't get a serverless ERP system either today or tomorrow, but it will happen in the future because it's disruptive technology that allows this reinvention. Resource right-sizing. One of the biggest challenges facing a solution architect is designing a system that is the optimum size for the workload. Even if we have an accurate performance benchmark on an application, we are generally required to predict for future growth, which is hard to do. Virtualization did help this because if we got it wrong, we could easily add more storage, compute, memory, and sometimes bandwidth. This flexibility has a downside though, in that when you purchase the hardware, you had to make all of the above predictions. Only now you probably didn't have the benchmarks for the applications you were going to put on the cluster. When you add HA requirements to the mix, you're guaranteed waste almost by design. The cloud changes this. The provider has done the hard sums for you, and you just excuse me. The provider has done the hard sums, and you just design as you need it and pay as you go. Well, actually, it's not just that simple. There are still a lot of design options with varying costs. Yes, you can vary sizes without pre-purchase, but you still need to monitor and react appropriately. Autoscaling does help this, but not all workloads fit this model. Most cloud vendors have the option of reserving of reserved compute and I/O with varying different methods of payment, like upfront or partial costs. This has great potential for savings up to 60%, but it requires some prediction and management afterwards. The graph from the previous slide had a dip in year 3 because of this kind of reserved instance purchasing. The real difference that the public cloud brings to the right sizing is the detailed consumption reporting and well-defined set of best practice. The good news is that there is an ecosystem of third-party companies that work on recognizing the best practice patterns from the data and making recommendations to you. This slide shows the output of the tools version 1 used for managing customer right sizing. The panel on the left is showing some recommendations for migration to new generation servers and changing I/O profiles of the storage. The right-hand side is showing usage issues like keeping backups of servers that no longer exist. One cost that is hard to manage is the effort involved in carrying out right-sizing tasks. Managed service providers like version 1 can help make this cost more predictable. While all of the public cloud vendors do compete with each other on price, the reality is that many enterprises do not compare cloud providers for each workload. There are some customers who will use some SaaS solutions and other cloud vendors like Salesforce or Microsoft Office, but most IT managers have predetermined the target either based on technical capability or contractual incentives. However, we have recently migrated some customer applications from on-premise to public cloud and ran them in parallel. This gives the customer the choice to run their code on either an on-premise estate or a public cloud. The cloud gives the elasticity they need for unpredictable workloads while still protecting their on-premise investment. We think this is going to start happening from cloud to cloud in the near future. New technologies like Docker, serverless, and Kubernetes are likely to change this over the next few years. There are new application architectures that break the application into smaller services and running them on containers like VMs. These containers are much more easily moved from cloud to cloud. However, the infrastructure around the service like DNS, load balancers still need to be managed. Licensing. The entry of Oracle into the market has created some turmoil in the license area. Cloud vendors are trying to disrupt each other. In Q1 2017, Oracle announced license changes that mean you consume twice the number of licenses in Azure or AWS than you do in Oracle Cloud. However, the announcement was not actually a contractual document. Licenses purchased before that have contracts that have not been changed. So if you do have one of those contracts, use those licenses wisely. The truth about Oracle licensing in the cloud is that it is very complicated. Your business has to have technical, contractual, and legal expertise to navigate these licenses efficiently. For example, the technical method announced in Q1 for counting licenses is quite complicated. Paul Bullen, one of our license experts here in version 1, has written a white paper on how to do this. The white paper, and it's available on the version1.com website. The white paper goes into detailed discussion around the different metrics that must be used in each cloud. Sometimes there are numerous metrics because different technologies are used for different services. I don't propose to go through the table now. It requires a bit of study. But I guess the basic point is that there are technical nuances to licensing in the cloud. Equally, you have to understand your contract and your legal obligations to Oracle when there is an audit. Some customers have a ULA which entitles them to an unlimited deployment period. Note that after this period, there is a different contractual profile for cloud, which could expose the customer to non-compliance. ULAs can be used to cover software deployed in authorized cloud environments, but cannot be included in the certification period. This could lead to immediate non-compliance. There are, of course, times when your license and workload profile work to your advantage. The cloud vendors are recognizing these patterns and can help you design solutions that fit your needs. We'd like to think that we can help you with this too. So when you see a statistic of 45% waste, you have to think that there's a serious governance issue with the cloud spend. Is it true? Well, it's true that there is a new paradigm. Cloud is different. It's generally more OpEx based. A different approach is required because the cost is no longer managed by finance or IT management. The sign-up for the spend is upfront, but the management of the spend is in the hands of the techies, who, if they don't continuously spec the compute, they're likely to overspend. Cost has to be allocated and controls have to be put in place. A type of cost compliance is required. This is a new role that IT managers have to understand, and this new role requires new tools to ensure success. It's a kind of cost compliance. Here's an example of the tool that we use at version 1. It is a summary report page of one of our customers' estates. This shows the highlight figure and that there's a theoretical saving if all the optimizations were carried out, a €10,000 or $10,000 saving if all the optimizations were carried out. This tool has pulled the data from the billing and inventory APIs as discussed earlier and has applied the best practice rules to the data. It is found that the customer could save over $10,000 per month. That's a lot of waste. So when we investigated this, we found that the actual potential savings was a little bit lower than suggested, but not significantly. Some potential savings required effort and downtime to implement. This is because the architecture was relying on particular instances that were not immutable. This was a lift and shift solution. A true cloud-native architecture does not rely on any single instance. This gives you the flexibility to reprovision resources without outages and automatically scale the compute used. Over 2K of the waste outlined was misprovisioned resources, while another 4.4K was incorrect sizing. In short, all the potential savings were not easily achieved because the application was lifted and shifted in the cloud. Cloud-native applications can take advantage of these savings. So, in my opinion, this isn't actually waste; it's really just unused potential. As happens with this customer, we were working with them to make the application more cloud native, but it's a journey. So, in conclusion, I'd agree that there's huge potential for savings, but it does not come immediately. On the face of it, this can look like waste, but I think it's probably more accurate to say that it's unused potential. However, new roles and tools are required for governance and architecture. Specialist skills are required, and existing skills must be adapted to the cloud, especially in license management and the new world application development. We'd like to think that we at version 1 can help you with much of this journey, so feel free to contact us. Okay, so that's the end of the presentation part of the webinar. I hope it was useful and that I've delivered on my goals of describing tangible cost savings how it can impact your budget. I also hope that you have a better insight into the waste, or as I call it, unused potential. Thanks for your time.